Hey Optimancers, Chris here. So a couple months ago, I think, I did a video where I talked about some free content that had been released by Dragori Games for their Tanares RPG. That was upcoming. It's an expansion for 5th edition, and it's essentially third party, but when you look at who's involved in creating it, there's a lot of D&D creators, like official D&D creators involved in this product. So they launched a Kickstarter that started on September 1st, so it's currently in progress, and that's why I'm creating this video, because when I did the initial video with the review, basically they approached me and asked if I'd be interested in highlighting their free sample and what I would ask to be paid for it. And I said, if I'm going to review it, then I probably shouldn't be paid, but this looks really good. And, if you were to give me the product, I'd be happy to do the video. And they agreed, so that's what I did. Now, they approached me again and they said, would you talk about our Kickstarter? And once again, I said, probably shouldn't pay me money for that, but give me more of the product. Because I'm getting the books. And I said, you have some miniatures. How about some miniatures too? And you got to see these miniatures. You will. I'm going to show them to you. And they said that that would be acceptable as well. So let's talk about the Kickstarter. Now, as I said, the Kickstarter started a few days ago, and they asked for, and this is in Canadian dollars, so probably $50,000 American, but in Canadian dollars, just about $63,000. And 3 days in, they're well above $1.5 million. So, I think it might be a successful Kickstarter. In fact, I'm sure they're thrilled with this because they've done Kickstarters before. They did one for, their initial board game, which this campaign world was created for. Though I think there was a D&D influence for the campaign world, clearly. So that this has come full circle and is now being released as a D&D product, I don't think is overly surprising. But they'd gotten about $500,000 on their first one, which was still a huge success for them, and nearly $1 million on their second project. So now that they're, looking like they're already double that in 3 days. So by the end of this, I have no idea where this number is going to be, but these are some pretty exciting numbers. So what is this Kickstarter for? Well, the Tanares RPG for 5th edition is going to include 3 initial books. And the first book is going to be the campaign world of Tanares, which is largely a political setting with some really unique and interesting features. I went over kind of the basics of that in my first video, and I will link that in the video description, though you can find a link to it here on this Kickstarter page as well. And of course, a link to the Kickstarter will be in the video description, and in the first pinned comment, I'll put it as well. But yeah, there's first the campaign world book. Then there will be an RPG book that's going to include rules. So there's going to be new classes, new subclasses, new spells, new magic items, new character options. So basically a full expansion for players. And then finally, there will be a book which is Adventures in the Realm of Madness or something like that. But it is basically their adventure supplement. And that is going to lead players from levels 3. And thank goodness, I hate starting at 1. 3 is a much more interesting level to start at, I think, and it will take you to level 12. So these are some pretty good levels of gameplay, but this is not a short campaign. 300 plus pages, they say. That is a lot of pages. Oh, and I see the numbers going up as I look. So who's involved in this? I said there were some big names involved in this. Well, number one, how about Ed Greenwood? This is the guy who created Forgotten Realms. He's been involved in D&D creation for just about since the beginning, and he's basically the modern campaign setting. You can thank Ed Greenwood, because Forgotten Realms kind of started the modern idea of a campaign setting that is developed and has different locations that actually are deep and interesting. And Skip Williams, this is the guy who helped create 3rd edition, and if you like 5th edition, you can largely thank 3rd edition because a lot of 3rd edition made it into 5th edition. I think 5th edition is the better system of the two, but the influence of 3rd edition on our current D&D, there's just no question. So let's see what they have to say about the Kickstarter.
Welcome to Tanares.
There's the 3
A
books.
dystopian high fantasy campaign setting.
There's
for
the map
world's
you can get
greatest
2-sided.
role-playing game. In Tanares, whenever war was waged, the bloodshed summoned and frenzied Avatar Dragon.
I mentioned this before, but the artwork here really is next
through
level.
cataclysms that reset history and forever changed the landscape.
Show the
This
miniatures.
shifting, fragmented world is held together by an empire that forbids large armed gatherings. With few high-level adventurers out there, your party may quickly become one of the most powerful units of the world and effect real change to all aspects of the scenario.
There they are.
Many
Okay,
ways
so
you can
look
experience
at
this
these
power
miniatures.
is tracking and
These
slaying
dragon
the
ones
Avatar
are
dragons.
just insane. Not my. Oh, there's my
A new
favorite. This
type
is
of
my
creature
favorite miniature of them
like
all.
no
Look at
other
that.
you've ever seen. The source book comes with hundreds of rich pages filled with adventure hooks and settings for this scenario or any other world of your creation. The complete resource for character and team creation is in the Player's Guide to Tanares, with 4 interesting unique classes: Dragonblade, Redeemer,
And there's going to be individual
Elementalist,
minis for each of the new
and
classes.
Walker. This extensive hardcover details new species, backgrounds, monsters, archetypes for each
And
of
4
the
new classes. I
original
talked a little bit
classes.
about those in the
Although
previous
essential
video.
in Tanares, they work perfectly in any other settings. All of this comes together in epic fashion in an adventure where you assemble a team and develop one
And this
of
is
several
interesting, a
headquarters
solo mode
in an
where you
open
can
world
play by
with special
yourself.
dungeons like you've never
So,
seen.
you know, I know some people have
Treasure
trouble
hunt
finding
while
groups for D&D,
investigating the truth of a
and
remarkable
this might be a way
plot
for you to
full of
dip your toe
twists
in.
and intriguing agents. The campaign sourcebook, Player's Guide to Tanares, and Adventure in the Realms of Madness are 3 books with more than 700 pages. Get them all in the essential kit to receive a protective slipcase, an exquisite double-sided poster map, a deluxe master screen, and miniatures that represent each of the 4 new classes. Join the party. Check out all the content, opportunities, and massive discounts. Back now on Kickstarter.
Okay, so let's see what is on this. This Kickstarter page is massive, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing. We would be here all day. I just want to kind of highlight some of the stuff I noticed. So I mentioned Ed Greenwood, I mentioned Skip Williams, Bruce Nesmith. This is the guy responsible, lead designer for Skyrim. This is like maybe my favorite RPG for computer games of all time, and also worked at TSR. So he has a background in D&D. That's not surprising, right? Amy Vorpal, she is currently a contributor to Dungeons & Dragons. So again, we have lots of people who are involved in D&D already. Rich Redman, again, has a history in working with 3rd edition, so has lots of D&D experience. Anthony Pryor worked on Sword and Sorcery. This was Monty Cook's kind of divergence from 3rd edition, and Monty Cook's a big name in the industry. Then we got Robert Schwab, again, has done work on 5th edition. Shane Hensley, Jeff Grubb. So we have a lot of established writers for D&D products or related products. Then it looks like, okay, so there's going to be 3 books. The first book is The Player's Guide to Tanares, and that one has the new classes in it, new spells, new subclasses, all that stuff. So this is kind of a player's book. Then we're going to get the Campaign World book. So that's just Tanares Campaign Source Book. And so that's going to have all your new locations. And it's also going to kind of be the monster manual. So they're saying 100 plus new monsters. And one thing I like about campaigns that have their unique monsters is that as a player, I mean, I've played D&D so much, I kind of know the Monster Manual. I know Volos, and so I come across a beholder and it's like, all right, I know he doesn't have true sight. He has dark vision, so why don't we consider doing a darkness spell, and that's going to block his eye rays. And I almost wish I didn't know that, right? Because it would make it more interesting. Like I can pretend I don't have that knowledge, and that prevents metagaming. But it's easier if you just don't know in the first place. More interesting. And so I like that. And then we have the actual campaign sourcebook. That's going to be 300 plus pages. Again, levels 3 through 12. Looking very forward to that. And the artwork I've already seen for these books is next level. Like this is the kind of artwork that I haven't seen in any D&D product up to now. Then it says we're going to have options for VTT content. This is of interest to me because actually most of the time now I play on virtual tabletop. I don't play in person very much anymore. And so it looks like on all the major VTTs, there's going to be maps, monsters, items in high resolutions, tokens, and all that will be available. And it says any pledge tier that includes all digital books and files, and we'll go over that. That's not a high level pledge tier, is going to get all this stuff included. And it looks like the next stretch goal we're going for is going to include an additional mini and additional spells. Speaking of which, I have been reached out to potentially do some content creation for Tanares that I think will be included in these books. So, hey, I may get a writing credit here, in the same book as Ed Greenwood. That's kind of a big deal to me. So let's talk about what our pledge options are. Well, here's somebody who made a comment saying the buzz on Dragora Games has been very positive. They're known for the quality of the miniatures they produce, their communication, their customer service. The product I have seen is very high quality, and if the rest of the Tanares RPG has the same level of quality, it should be pretty interesting to see. And that was said by me because that is exactly my opinion here. So how to pledge? All right, so there's a number of options, but let's kind of go through them. The first is you can spend $25. This will be US, right? $25 US, and you will get one digital book. So if you just want the campaign, the adventure, you can get that, and it's $25. That's really nothing, right? $25 for a fully 300-page plus adventure. That is a good deal. Never mind the level of artwork we're getting in this book. Or if you just want the new classes, well, $25. So that's the base tier level. Then there's the hardcover book and a PDF. So again, this is just one book, but you're going to get a hardcover book included, and it's $50. Now, if you think that the PDF is worth $25, well, then we're really just getting a hardcover book for $25. And you just don't get hardcover books for $25. So I'm not even sure how they're doing it, how they're producing these at that kind of price, but $25 additional for a hardcover book, sign me up. I think the one that would be of interest to a lot of people is the all digital books and files. That'll give you every single one of the books in PDF form and $69. And this is the one also that gives you all the VTT support. So you can get everything essentially for $69. The next is the Essential Kit. So if you want physical copies and you want the whole thing, this one will do it for you. You're going to get all 3 of the books in hardcover, all 3 of the books in PDF. You're going to get a Game Master screen. You're going to get a slipcase to hold the books together. You get the 2-sided map. They kind of featured that a little bit in that video. And it says that they're also including the 4 minis that represent the 4 new classes. Then there's the miniatures and cards bundle. And now this one isn't including the actual books. So this is just miniatures and cards. So if you like miniatures and you're not really interested in actually playing the adventure, but you want these minis, it's going to be $179. You get a character pack, villain pack, classes pack, penumbral pack, and the scenario pack. And then there is the super kit. So this one gives you all the books, all the stuff in the essentials kit, and all the miniatures. And it looks like this is $249. But if you look at the actual pledges here, if I look at the super kit, let's find it here. Here's the Super Kit. 2,300 backers. So this is the most popular one so far, is the Super Kit. It gives you all the minis and the full role-playing game, hard copy, digital copy, and the add-ons like the Game Master screen, the slipcase, and the map. Now, as I mentioned, they have the background in board games. If you're interested in checking out those board games, then you can do that here too. $289, and it looks like you're getting 4 products here. And again, they quoted me again. There's a lot of background information as well as fleshed out NPCs to interact with. And again, I'm impressed by the artwork here. Constantly impressed by their artwork. The battle map here, it's amazing. It really was. And that was just what I was referring to in that part was they did a battle map for the arena. And arena combat is a big part of this campaign world. So I assume there's going to be several arenas. And it really was next level. Solid artwork, lots of terrain features that beg for players to be creative rather than just sling spells and swing swords. And yeah, I mean, I played a lot of D&D where you're just playing on a map and, you're on the grass or you're in a hallway. And that's fine. I still enjoy it. I like D&D, but if you include a lot of little neat terrain features with interesting interactions, I think it adds a level. And it looks like they know that. They're saying branching nonlinear story for character levels of 3 to 12, rich background with many intriguing agents and moving parts. And yeah, there's these different factions, and it's quite political. And then as players, you're going to kind of choose which faction you're kind of trying to help. Treasure hunt, murder investigation, prison escape, and more. An open world with countless paths and extraordinary dungeons. And they do mention that as players, you're also going to kind of be able to choose your route through this world and through this adventure. Time pressure, plot twists, and difficult decisions, unique events, situations, encounters, and boss fights. So this does look really good. What I will say is if you are somebody who does play with me, don't read this because I'll probably run it. And as we work our way down, we get to the Player's Guide to Tanares. So as I mentioned, 4 new classes, subclasses, I assume will be for those classes. And it says they have 4 beginner classes. So now I think I saw something about those. So let me see if I can find it here. As I said, there's a lot here. So there we are. There's the Gold Dragon, by the way. This is my favorite mini that they do. I just love the look of it. $29 if you just want that. And it says you can get it painted for $58. All right, so I'm just going through seeing if I can see more. Wow, I like that one too. Okay, so I'm just seeing if I can see more about these classes. They said that 4 classes for experienced players, 4 classes for beginner players. Here we are. Okay, so these are the classes for experienced players. We had the Dragon Blade. This had like dragon powers that you choose. So, it'd be like choosing your techniques for the Battle Master. It makes it a little more interesting than we see with a lot of classes where, it's just kind of, this is what you get, add +2, right? But instead you're getting individual powers that you select. In fact, pretty much all these classes work that way. We get the Mad Walker and the Elementalist. Now, it says here they manipulate their range, shape, power, and combine elements. So I think they're talking about manipulating range and shape of spells. And so that kind of customization, I love that in a spellcaster. And then we have the Redeemer, which looks like they use special abilities rather than spells. They still curse and bless, hurt and heal, but not through spells, but through class features. And yeah, so here's the simple classes. So if you want to introduce somebody to Dungeons and Dragons, one of the things you want to do is simplify it as much as possible, because Dungeons & Dragons is actually a very complicated game and it can be intimidating to new players. So I love the fact that they're bringing in some classes that a new player can take on very easily. So they've got the Mage, which is the simplified wizard, the Juggernaut, the simplified barbarian, the Scoundrel, which is the simplified rogue, and the Shaman, the simplified cleric. So I will be very interested to see how those work out, because anything that brings in more players to Dungeons & Dragons is a great thing as far as I'm concerned. Then we got some new races. I talked about the Taimaku in the first video. One thing that I noticed, they've got Gloomfolk. These are like centaurs, except they're scorpion centaurs. Now, I've seen that kind of concept before, but never as a player character race. So that is interesting to me. Then we have the Cirrus, and it looks like they've done something smart here where these guys will get wings, but not until 9th level. So by the time they get wings, flight isn't such a huge deal anymore. Much smarter than giving them at first level. And it looks like they have other angelic and demonic features. And then the Kemet, and these are elf-like. They have elf background mixed with fey background. That's kind of the concept. I don't know what the features are going to look like at this point. And we can see a lot of the stretch goals are already unlocked. And again, it's just more content of the same kind of stuff. More subclasses, more monsters, more magic items, more locations, and so many of these because they're so far above their base goal that all this stuff has been unlocked. So, they have a lot of work to do. And there are a lot of reviews of their product. And so here they are. And right here is the one that I've already done. So you can either look in the video description here, or, if you go to their Kickstarter page, you can find the link to it there as well. So the Tanares RPG, there is a Kickstarter link in the video description. I am interested in this product. I'm excited about it, and I may be contributing a little bit to it. I intend to. And I just wanted to let my viewers know about it as well. So if you want to check this out, please do. I think that everything I've seen so far suggests to me that it is going to be super quality. But if you don't believe me, download the free one-shot that they've already done. You see for yourself. So once this comes out, I am going to consume it. And until then, I'm going to sit back, relax, and have some fun. D&D is for everyone. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.